Yo, what's up guys, my name is Severman, and in today's video I will show you how Martin Garrix produced the drop of his brand new song called Gravity. Right now, as I'm recording the video, the track actually hasn't released yet, so we will need to use the live version as a reference. So let's have a listen to his Ultra set where he played the song Gravity. I think that's where he premiered it. Let's have a listen to the drop. When I heard that one at Ultra, I was like, yo, that's a great tune for sure. So let's get straight into FL. And the first thing I'll do is I'll obviously recreate the melody. I will start with the leads, and for the leads, he uses a staccato string as a main sound. So what I'll do is I'll use the VSCO2 orchestra plugin. It's a free one. I've been using that one on a lot of my tracks. So let's recreate the melody. BPM is probably going to be 128 or something like that. Amazing, sounds pretty good to me. So now I'll first make the leads. I'll add a couple layers. I'll add a second staccato string from the Labs, which is also a free plugin. It's a bit panned to the left side, so I will try to undo that. Amazing, so then he has the staccato strings and he layered those with a couple of supersaws. So what I'll do is I will recreate one and silent one. Let me do one from scratch real quick. Take the init preset, which will open up a basic saw wave, and then bring up the voices to A, turn the retrig off, and then increase the detune. I think I'll use that on the lower octave and then play around with the envelope a little bit. So what I like to do is bring down the sustain all the way, then add some decay, listen to how the decay shapes the sound, then add back in sustain, and then add a little bit of release. It's already sounding really cool now. Let's add in a second oscillator on a higher octave. So here I'll keep the octave on default on 0. Voices again to A, turn the retrig off, and then play around with the detune. Sorry, and obviously we want a saw wave as well. And try to find the right volume. I don't want this to be too loud. I want the lower octave layer to be a bit more present, so I will lower this one a bit. Already getting there. Now I will do is I'll add 1, 2, 3 more layers just to fatten up the leads a little bit. Nothing wrong with using presets, obviously. So I'll try some Spire leads. I really like this one. It's also a super saw, but it sounds really fat, really nice. Has a lot of energy. Turn off the cut off, and then I'll turn off delay and reverb here as well. I'll mute the third oscillator because this one has a lot of white noise in it that I don't like. And then bring up the whiteness. These super saws, you always, or most of the times, you want to have them wide and on the sides to support your main layers, which in this case are the staccato strings. Already getting there. I will add one more lead sound, another saw type sound, but one that's a bit more centered. This is the one that I believe Madison Setka are also using a lot in their tracks. Sounds very close to their lead sound. I think the higher octave works better in this case. So I think that sounds really good. And now I will send all of them to a lead bass channel. You can send them to an individual channel first to have a bit more control over them. But here it's not really necessary. We can just do the lead bass processing right away. So you'll just do the standard low cut, like 200 hertz, to make sure there's no unnecessary rumble down there. Let's do some OTT. Then I will add the P controller as well as some reverb. And with the P controller, I will sidechain the wet amount of the reverb. I'll set this to 20%. And then decay time I will usually reduce a little bit. And then the volume we'll have to check again once we have the reverb. So let's add the reverb here. I always increase the low cut. I usually have it at like 800 hertz on the lead bass. You can also increase the high cut a little to give your reverb a bit more high end, a bit more brightness. And then decay time, I have a pretty long decay time usually on the lead bass, 3.5 seconds. And now comes the trick. I show this in like every video, but let me show again. So right click on the wet and then choose internal controller, peak on insert 1. And then set this to inverted. You can see how it's being sidechained now. Okay, it's already sounding pretty good. Only thing that's really necessary still is some sidechain. I'll probably go with something like 55 to 60% here with Nicky Romero's Kicks Out preset, the first one. Cool, so now we got the lead and the melody. Next up, I will do the chords. Here I'll also just use the basic init preset as a starting point. Let's build some chords. Now these are the bass notes. Also make sure you increase your polyphony. Still don't know how to pronounce that. I'll use the higher octave here. Now we need to add some more harmonies. Nice one, sounding very emotional and full. So what we could do now is we could perhaps add some chorus here. Call it a day already. This is already sounding very cool. I'll use that one as a bass layer here, like as a bass layer for the chords. Send that to channel 2, and then I'll already start with some quick processing here for the chords. You don't really want to cut into the lowest note. Just make sure there's no rumble. Here you can see the lowest note is at like 80 hertz. So I'll cut it there and then I'll give a slight roll off to the highs to make them less harsh. And then what I do most of the times, use a trick for your chords, for the drop chords. Most of the times I will reduce that 200, 300, 400 hertz area a little bit to get rid of some of that muddiness, because that's usually the area where you have muddiness. Perfect. And then here, sidechain with the chords, you want something more intense. I usually go for the classic chain and then like 85 or something. Of course, we want a couple more layers. Let me just add some detune here. I've just cloned that layer now. What also most of the times works really well for chords is adding a square wave. layer, so we'll do that here. Let me mute the oscillator A so we only listen to the A2. Bring up the voices. It's very high. So 2 synths sounding amazing already. Let me open up a new pattern, and what I'll add now is a choir to the background. I love using choirs. These really give so much more emotion. They'll make it drop so much more emotional, and I really work as a background layer to add a bit more of an organic vibe to your drop. Check this out. So this is the Spitfire Audio original epic choir. Sounds so cool. This one will only be used in the background very quietly. Shouldn't be too loud. We don't really need too much here. Just again, low and high cut. Kind of do it like that, or do a straight cut. Bring down the mids maybe a bit, because those are have a little bit of resonance. Then we just want some sidechain here. Go with 70% or something. Hold on, one thing I forgot on the chord bus. I want to add a gate effect, just have a bit more rhythm there. I think that's what Garrix did as well. I'll use the gross B for that, and then the quarter beat gate. You can play around with the attack and release here to get a nice amount of gate effect, because you don't want it to be too strong. Keep that at around 280 milliseconds. So then let's add some bass. I think I'll try some Spire presets. For example, I really like the sub bass preset here. So what I'll do is I'll grab the bass notes from the chords. But then what Garrix did, he made the bass line follow the rhythm of the leads. There's some highs on it that you could keep them in, but I will remove them because I really want to focus on the sub here, and then I'll add a separate mid bass. So then here, pretty much just want some side chain. I want to keep it simple. I'm just gonna go with the mid chain sub bass preset here. So then let's add some mid basses. Yeah, I think this should get the job done. Let's look for another one. This one. And then I believe Martin Garrix also added a rolling mid bass. First of all, what I will do is I will add the effector and then this vocal effect. Nice one. Then next up, let's maybe try the phaser. And then one tip here is there is a EQ whatever it's called, this one in FL, and there is a vowels preset. This one also adds a bit more of that top box voice type character. Let me add one EQ. There is some frequencies here that I don't like. Okay, cool. So let's add some processing to the mid bass bus. Here, make sure to make room for your sub bass. Also, the low cut here, 90 hertz. Then I like to add some blood overdrive, some distortion. It's a bit more crunch, makes it more aggressive. I really love that one. And then we should be good with some sidechain. Right, so we got the leads, we got the pads, choir, we got the sub bass, mid bass. Now next up I'll add some drums. This is the kick drum that I'm using in my tracks. Actually, it sounds quite similar to the one that Garrix used in his track. And then we want some claps, some crashes, downlifters. There's also a very prominent hi-hat or shaker loop in the original drop. So let me add all of these sounds. So I'm pretty good. I've also done some pre-mixing now, so everything's already sounding nice and balanced, also with the leads I will show you later. So now I still need a pre-shifted clap in the second half of the drop, and then I'll also add some effect sounds, like a couple more downlifters, uplifters, and yeah, those type of sounds. Some ambient sounds as well. Some harsh higher mids in here. With these ambient sounds, sometimes EQing really can clean them up a lot. There's some more downlifters and uplifters. Alright guys, so I think those are the final couple drum sounds here for the drop. I've done some rough mixing. On the mastering, if you're wondering what I did on the master, I just have an OTT at literally just 6% to really just glue all that the sounds a little more, and then sausage fatener, which is just limiting the song and increasing the input volume a little bit to squeeze everything together a little bit. So let's have a listen to the final results.